I, for a little bit of a moment, I guess the last time I was on this stage was a long, long, long time ago. It was a different millennia. And we were doing some stuff with stage effects. I don't know if anybody still remembers. But, and a little bit of disclaimer, I'm a little bit not techie. So the last time I used a PowerPoint or did a PowerPoint presentation was actually 1996. Taught by, I know her as one of my favorite people in the world. I know her as Miss Jessica Junio. You know her as Miss Jessica de Mejillo. But yeah, that's the last time I literally did a PowerPoint presentation. So if it looks, it's fine, don't worry about it. I'm old. So I'm going to start talking about, do you guys see what's that? Okay, I actually am a chef. I've been a chef for a long time. But let me start you off with a little bit of a story. Now, let me take you back to 2005. It was a cold autumn day in Victoria, Vancouver. Me and my two friends from culinary school were, for a lack of a better word, hungover, riding a ferry, and we found ourselves in an old town hall, an old wooden town hall, attending a book signing of one of my idols, and you see his picture in the next slide. So we found ourselves, imagine we were like hungover, smelling like alcohol, sitting in an old town hall full of middle-aged women who obviously had the hots for Mr. Bourdain here. And by the time I got to him, I asked him, what advice would you have for a young cook who's learning, just starting out in the industry? And he said, and I still carry his advice until today. He said, make sure you work for the best chefs you can learn from, no matter where they are in the world, even if you have to do it for free. And always, always, always stay curious. And that struck me. And then I had 10 more seconds. I went, when are you coming to my country? Philippines. He's like, I know about balut. Eventually I'll get there. And 3 years later, he did come to the Philippines. And that fascinated me, right? How did this guy, this world-famous guy, know about balut, right? And that was fascinating. And that curiosity stayed with me until now. But let me, I have so many stories to tell. But let me just introduce myself. I'm from the school. We just celebrated our homecoming, which means the last time I was here technically studying was 25 years ago. Let that sink in. And I am a person who throughout my life has taken on challenges and seen them as things that I could take on, because let's be honest, we're Siberians, right? So we like taking on challenges. So when I was born with asthma. I almost passed away a few times when I was a baby, when I was an infant, but a doctor offered me the challenge. He said, look, if you want to be you can be a disabled person your whole life, or you can fight through this. So I chose, he offered me a chance to strengthen my lungs, and I took swimming seriously for 7 years until I developed enough lung strength so that asthma doesn't affect me anymore. So that was my first challenge, major challenge that I overcame. In fact, I became competitive, and the reason I stopped were two things. One is I saw myself in a photograph wearing a Speedo. And then while we were competing, after we competed, my swim coach was like, you know, you're great. You just look like a whale when you're swimming. Thank you. So I stopped swimming. But by that time, I developed enough lung strength. And in high school, the big challenge was, I hope you understand, for those who don't attend Xavier, 13 years, all-boy Catholic school is not very good for social skills. So I had a crush on this girl from Ika dance troupe. So I just wanted to spend time with her, right? I had no right to dance, but I'm a results person, right? Like, you know how the ego needs are, the need to look good, the need to be right, and the need for results. I didn't care about looking good, I didn't care about being right. I just needed to spend time with this girl. So I convinced the best dancers in Xavier at the time, and I convinced our computer teacher, Miss Jessica, at the time Miss Junio, now Miss Nemehilio, and I said, sure, let's start a dance club. But the goal is to compete. The goal is to compete around the country, and we're gonna call it TEDxX. So believe it or not, we started dancing competing in 1998, and I'm so happy that TEDxX is still around. Um, the third challenge, major challenge, was I was issued a challenge by the famous network, and they were like, at the time it was Asian Food Channel, and they were like, there's no Filipino produced TV show ever. It's all from Malaysia, Hong Kong, Singapore. And I said, what's the parameters? It has to be extremely unique. So I presented a cooking show where we would teach people, normal urban people, how to solve their food problems using what professionals know. Because at the time, I'd been a professional for 10 years already. So I was like, can we teach people simple things that chefs know that might help solve their normal food problems? And that show, it didn't work out with Asian Food Channel. Lifestyle picked it up. And then it ran for a couple of years until we eventually sold it to Discovery Channel. So believe it or not, that show is still broadcast around the world, just not in the Philippines because of ABS-CBN politics. And then in the past few years, the last major challenge that I encountered was this mall was specifically looking for a unique dining concept. And they said it has to be something that has never been done before. So I put up this restaurant, and I opened it, and it's still open. And I opened it as a platform to test ideas that can help solve problems, ideas that can help create new solutions for the food industry, right? So that's my journey. That's who I am. But why am I here specifically? Because I found my purpose. And for those of you who haven't found your purpose, that's easy. Who of you guys know what a Venn diagram is? You know those intersecting circles, right? So imagine one circle, you fill it up with what you love. What do I love? I love cooking, I love food, I love people. The next circle is you fill it up with what you're good at. Because sometimes what you're good at is not necessarily what you love. Like, for example, I was told my whole life I'm really good at connecting with people or talking to people. I'm an extreme introvert. I love spending time alone. I'm not a people person per se. But you know what? When there's an intersection with what you love and what you're good at, that's great. The third circle is what the world needs. Because sometimes what you're good at and what you love is not needed by anybody in this world, unfortunately, right? But there's one more circle you have to fill up. What is the world willing to pay you for? Because when you find the intersection between what you love, what you're good at, what the world needs, and what you're going to be paid for eventually, then you have a really good purpose to wake up for every day. And even if you're tired, even if everything is not working, you go do it. But what I found is there has to be a basis, a foundation for your purpose, and it has to be based on your beliefs and core values. Now, our core values are built as soon as we're born, with our parents, with our schools, everybody that we learn from. That's why Luciat Lux, let your light shine, has been such a guiding principle in my life. But what do I believe? I believe that we're all the same. My journey has taken me throughout the world. I've been fortunate enough to work in 3 continents. I've worked in Taipei, I've worked in KL, I've worked in the Alps of France making cheese. I've worked beside the Eiffel Tower serving billionaires food. I've worked in Canada serving white people. I've served in, believe me, white people are entertaining. It's super fun. But I've had so much learning experiences. And now I think I'm at the point where I can move forward and share some solutions to the world, right? And I believe that food can bring people together because I truly believe that food is the great equalizer. Everybody needs food. Does anybody here not like food at all? Is anybody here against eating? Who does not love food? Food is the one thing, like, and this Anthony Bourdain, he was sitting down with presidents, eating simple noodles with simple folk. I've had meals with dignitaries, I've had meals with farmers, and you know what? You're all the same when you're eating. And once you feed somebody, you're emotionally connected to that person. Once you feed somebody, you're forever connected, right? And you're connected to those memories. And that's why when I serve comfort food, I go, what comfort food did your Lola serve you? What comfort food made you feel better? And what do you remember when you eat this special ginataan? What do you remember when you eat this dirty ice cream, right? It brings you back. It connects you to your memories. It connects you to the past. My tita's dinuguan was the best dinuguan ever. That's why I will forever connect with her on that dinuguan. And at the end of the day, I think food can bring people together. And I think food can help solve some of the world's problems. Now, how do we do this? We tell stories. Chefs are the best storytellers. I'll tell you why. Chefs tell multi-sensory stories. We tell stories through your eyes, your taste buds, your touch, your hearing, your smell. It's everything about your senses. And when you're doing sensory things, you feel alive, right? You're not sitting in front of a computer doing this all day. You work with your hands, you work with your senses. Fantastic. I show you a couple of pictures here because these stories connect me to some of my best memories. The one here, the little dark thing, that's seared tuna tataki. That was Chef Tina Fineza's signature dish. She was a pioneer for Filipino chefs in Pacific Northwest. She was able to, from nothing, really create special cuisines based on Asian food and introduced it to Pacific Northwest. And she allowed people like me who had no right to be there a chance to shine and introduce things like adobo, humba, to prominent Pacific Northwest people in Seattle and Vancouver. And by featuring my version of her dish that she taught me, I'm still able to connect her to the people that loved her. Her family, she's not with us anymore. She passed away in 2011. People still come to my restaurant to taste Tina Fineza's food because that connects them to her. And I can share Tina Fineza's legacy to other people. The one in the middle is called Suman Alahaset. I named it after my former pastry chef partner from Oroquieta because his three favorite things in the world were suman, ube halaya, and leche flan. And I decided to combine all three things in one plate, and it became a signature. And this way, people are still honoring Haset's legacy because he was so excellent, and he taught me how to do desserts and pastries. And the last thing is like that thing in the bowl with the chips. That's a tuna kilawin. Because my family, both mother and father side, were pioneers in the General Santos tuna industry, and I just wanted to tell the story of my family, of General Santos, and what better way than to feature the simple, humble, but worldwide famous tuna of the Philippines. Now we connect to our family through food when we cook their dishes, when we eat their dishes, when we name dishes after them, right? And that's why, and I believe the emotionality of it is real. You don't really remember a lot of the details in your favorite meals, your favorite restaurant experiences. You remember how you felt. You remember if you were taken care of. You remember if you were happy. That's why you always go back to that happy place, because of how you felt. Now, what's the point of all this? I see a lot of challenges that we might be able to solve. For example, food security. I know you guys don't know about food security, but food security is making sure that our children and grandchildren have nutritious food to eat. I don't know in 30 years if they're still able to eat the things that we're able to eat because there's so much going on. There's so much food waste. There's so much scarcity. There's so much politics. Food costs is going so high. It's ridiculous. I'm so happy that we're starting to research on alternative ways of eating, alternative ways of agriculture. And we've been doing a lot of research into that, me and the people I work with. And we're just trying to make sure that generations ahead of us can eat good food. And food waste is another big issue for me because I used to run buffets and I'm like, there's so much food we're wasting. I don't know the data here, but I think in the States up to 40% of food that they produce is actually wasted. I work very closely with Benguet farmers. I go to Benguet a lot, and they tell me, look, there's so much food waste here. We're throwing away like tons and tons of kilos and kilos of blah, blah, blah because nobody's buying it. I just came back last month from Nueva Vizcaya, and that's one of the vegetable baskets of our country. And they were like, boss, we're literally just gonna throw these away or give it to piggeries. Para lang hindi sayang. And I'm like, why is there so much food waste? And still, so many people are hungry. That doesn't make sense. And the last challenge I wanted to tackle was, and I call this human entropy. That's the shortest way I could explain it. It's because I find that in the past few generations, people have been drifting apart. People have been tribalizing. People have been canceling each other out. Why can't we come together? Why can't we bring people together? And I'm thinking, maybe we can use food because everybody loves food. Everybody can relate. The two things that everybody can relate with are food and hugot. And I'm really good at food. I'm not really good at hugot. So, what if we can solve food waste? I work with a cannery. Her name is Jin. She has a cannery in Bulacan. And we work together. And we were like, look, why don't we just take some of these yung mga the farmers, their overproduction of for example, the calabas or something, or the canned tomatoes. Why don't we take those overproduction, those oversupply, the surplus, and turn it into relief goods so that it will benefit people? Your problem here is spoilage. Why don't we take it, turn it into canned goods, have a 3-year shelf life, and then distribute it as relief goods? Common sense, right? We're turning somebody's waste into somebody's food. That makes sense. And then, can we do better? I work with, his name is Jonathan. He owns a plastics manufacturing company, and all he does is help people turn, now he's just turning plastics into renewables. And he's introduced me so many farmers, and he's solving the problems of the industry. And can we end hunger? Because I work with ARC Solves, and we're trying to end hunger by teaching people how to plant their own vegetable gardens so they're self-sustainable. And then the surplus they can show to other communities. But instead of talking about it, let me just show you some photos. What you see here, those two kids, that's my lovely kid, Maverick. He's hanging out with a farmer's kid. They're eating the same stuff up in the mountains, and they don't care where they're from. They're just hanging out and eating. And this simple Mobi is connecting them, and they're just hanging out, eating chips, right? That's of beautiful Benguet farms in Atok. And then what you'll see is those four people are those four of the best chefs in the country. They're technically competitors, but spending time with the farmers brought them together to help solve the problems. These are four of the best chefs in the country. And the group of people below, those are farmers, people in the government, people in the food service industry. We're all just hanging out, just helping each other. And the farmers even showed us this new thing called tamarillo. It's a cross between kiwi and tomato. It's amazing. So we're learning so much from each other. And then we're helping solve each other's problems, right? Here, the last slide here is, this is a community with that foundation I work with. So you can see there's a guy in white. He's a chef from New York who I invited. And he just wanted to learn how to solve our problems as well. And so we brought him to the community that we help with the food. We're trying to end hunger, right? So here we are in the middle with people from ABS-CBN Foundation, Nestle Foundation, DTI. Everybody's here talking to these people from the barangay down in Negros, and we're just eating the same vegetables that they planted. Chefs like me, that chef, we're just cooking stuff for them, and we're just sitting down in a meal, and nobody cares where you're from. We're just sharing each other's stories and problems and helping solve each other's problems. And the last photo you'll see is all the vegetables that they planted. And all I did was in this big gymnasium, I took it, I cooked it, and we had fun. The point is, we're trying to solve the world's problems one bite, one person, one plate at a time. Think about that next time you eat. Thank you very much.